Hi everyone. I have a question for my audience out there. Who all just loves animals? Everyone. How could you not? So today I'm going to say why you should donate to a no-kill shelter. I personally volunteer at an animal shelter, and that is my wonderful credibility. So let's go over what I'm going to talk about today. The first thing I'm going to talk about is what is a no-kill shelter. Then I'm going to transition on to how shelters are struggling. And lastly, we will go over ways that you can donate to your local no-kill shelter. So let's begin with what is a no-kill shelter. So let's say one thing right off the bat. A no-kill shelter does not murder animals, which is, to me, is the biggest accomplishment that they have. They also have a large open space for animals to run around. They often partner up with other organizations to help vet bills for pet parents. This can include things like a spade neutering clinic or a way to get shots for cheaper for your little animals. Now let's move on to why shelters are struggling. The first issue that they are struggling with, as seen in the ASPCA's Pet Statistics article, is that they are at capacity. They are having lower adoption rates now that the main COVID pandemic is over. They're also having a higher surrender rate now that many of the animals that were adopted during the beginning of the COVID pandemic have returned to work, and now those pets are left without pet parents. They're also dealing with staff shortages, which is highlighted in the Natural Geographic Why Animal Shelters Are Facing a New Crisis. In that article, they outline that there are issues with transportation, such as getting to these vet clinics and getting to staff training. They are facing a shortage of full-time staff so the staff that are not on shift are not being able to intake animals quicker. They are falling behind getting them registered with the vets, and they are not having enough person to pet contact. The last issue I'm going to discuss today for struggles within the shelters are they are not state funded. They rely fully on donations from the public and any kinds of grants that they can get. So that takes me on to our last section of the day, is donations. What can you do to help? Now, the most obvious thing that people donate is money. Monetary donations are very, very helpful to every organization. Those monetary donations often go into staff training, such as finding the best way to care for pets, and doing background checks to ensure that foster parents are a good fit and that every pet is happy and healthy. These can also go toward vet bills. The most expensive part of owning a pet is the vet bills, and whenever a shelter has over 100 animals to care for, those costs can add up. Your donations can lead to a full-time vet being on staff, which can lead to all these animals being taken care of quickly and comfortably without having to be transferred between different vets in town and then back into their facility. Your monetary donations can also go toward food and medicines. Some cats and other animals, but at my shelter we mostly deal with cats, require daily medicines, whether these be shots for diabetes or different medicines for different things, such as skin allergies, flea medications that have to be administered monthly, and other things. They also have to have food every day, and food is not cheap. Many of the cats at my shelter are on a special diet where they only get, they have to have a certain specific kind of food that is much, much higher than like the typical like Meow Mix or whatever you go by at home. They also do have to afford the typical Meow Mix. They are also providing bedding and different things in the rooms to let the animals play on, such as giant cat towers and tunnels, and they usually have these wonderful shelves that run all the way across the room so that the cats can run and jump around the room. And lastly, those monetary donations just go to keeping the building there. They have to pay property taxes, they have to keep the lights on, they have to pay Ameren, they have to pay the electric bills, they have to keep the water on. There are so many bills that go into maintaining one of these facilities that monetary donations help with. The next thing that you can donate is your time. I haven't got to volunteer in a very long time, which I'm very sad about, but whenever I did, the rosters were never full. Even pre-COVID, they could not get enough volunteers in the door to have a full shift of people working every time. At my shelter, there's only 2 shifts per day, a morning shift and then an early evening shift, and even those weren't being filled. So the vets and the staff that were on site were having to take time out of their precious time that they spend with the animals, ensuring they have everything they need, to come in just to clean their rooms and to feed the animals. As a volunteer, a lot of what you're doing is sweeping and feeding the animals, cleaning out kennels and cages, which there aren't a whole lot of. And my favorite part of volunteering was just the future pet to human contact. I would sit in their rooms for usually over an hour after we were done for the day and just hang out with the cats. And it got to the point where the staff on site would just let me and my best friend stay, and we would stay for about an hour and a half after closing every single time we were there. And those cats, we would just move room to room, and they would just come and sit on the couches with us, and they just loved having people in the room with them because it wasn't something that happened all day like typical house cats have. The next thing that you can donate is material items. These can include things like blankets and pet beds. Many shelters do have a cap for how many they will take, though, so I would call ahead if you are wanting to donate a material object such as that. My shelter specifically always needs more blankets because all of the cats love to sleep in them. Each cat has their own bed in their room, so they would love to have more, because washing them and ensuring that they're fully clean and fully dry before the next future pet gets them can be very challenging. The next thing that you can donate is pet foods. Now, often donated pet foods that are completely sealed will go into their blessing box. And that is for pet owners that are struggling to feed their pets, to ensure that their pets have proper nutrition, even whenever their pet parent are unable to buy food for them. The last thing on the material donations is volunteer snacks. The shelter that I volunteer at had an older lady who, whenever she was young, would volunteer every single day, and she loves the shelter. Whenever she got older, she was not physically able to come in anymore, so she would drop off snacks every single week. She filled the entire volunteer fridge and all of the cabinets to the brim every week with snacks. She was kind of offended if you didn't take a snack. That's how many she brought every week. But it's really nice, and it keeps volunteers coming in the door, and it keeps the people that are on the volunteer shifts hydrated and not hungry. Now that you know, we have one more. You can also volunteer your home. Now, I don't mean to sign over your land deed to the adoption agencies or to the shelter for them to use your home, but you can foster animals in your home, and you can also volunteer your house up for adoptions. Now, adopting an animal is the best thing you can do. Me personally, I've adopted 5 animals at this point, and I love all of them so much. They've all been saved animals, and I wouldn't trade anything for them. But now that we know all the ways to help the shelters, let's review. So today I went over what is a no-kill shelter, how are they struggling, and ways that you can donate. Everything that I listed today are not the only ways that you can help and be active in your shelter community. Even just sharing a post on Facebook or buying their monthly calendars is very helpful. If you are interested in volunteering or donating in any capacity, get in touch with your local shelter. For those that live around me, that is going to be the Schuyler County Humane Society. And with that, I will say thanks, everyone.